Good Monday morning. I am Genevieve Jones-Wright, founder and lead empower mentor of Motivation.In.Action, or MIA. And this is, of course, another week of Motivational Mondays. And thank you so much for being here to start your week with us. And I guarantee you that this conversation in honor of National Women's Small Business Month I'm about to have with the one and the only Shacole Hamlett is going to inspire you. So let's just begin. Good morning, Shacole.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Great. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you in studio because you are just wonderful. And before we get into the Hamlet, which is the business that you own, I just want to ask you, who is Shacole?
Yeah, well, I am Shacole, and I am from San Diego. I was born and raised in San Diego. Started my career, though, mostly in LA after going to UC Irvine. So I have, in the last 10 years, have really been focusing on being an experiential producer. So I've been an experienced producer, creative director, and so I've been working on large-scale public brand activations for different brands. So that's like my full-time gig. But the thing that brings me a lot of joy is creating community. And that is what I get to do with the Hamlett Coffee Shop.
Yes, you do. I've been to the Hamlet and love your lotus drink.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the Hamlet, where it is? Where can we find you? What do you have? What do you offer?
Yeah, so we're in San Diego County in Lemon Grove specifically, and we are a coffee apothecary shop that also serves as an incubator for local and Black-owned businesses, specifically in the health and wellness spectrum and apothecary. So we're also a community space. We host everything from comedy nights to game nights to panels and art classes out of our space as well. And so the vision behind it was really creating a space for community and also utilizing the habit and the morning habit of having a cup of coffee to kind of incorporate something else that was really healthy, whether that's adding sea moss or ashwagandha or another additive that can kind of help support creating healthy physical habits.
And you all have the mushroom powder.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a mushroom powder that we often add to teas and lattes. And in that mushroom powder is changa, lion's mane, and some other really amazing mushrooms that all support everything from your immune system to energy.
And clarity of mind.
And clarity of mind is a great one.
Yes, and that is so important. And I love that it is a community space and it's also a family space. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this whole concept really came from a family moment. So during COVID, in I want to say the May of 2020, my husband and I decided to move back from Los Angeles to San Diego after I'd been out there for almost 12 years, specifically in Leimert Park. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So we decided to move back because we're like, if it's going to be the end of the world, I definitely want to be close to my mom. So I came back home and we moved in into my great grandma's house. And in this house was my great grandmother, my great aunt, my grandmother, my husband, my son, one of my twin brothers. I think that was everybody, but it was a ton of people. And this is all happening during the height of COVID, and then June hits. We, have to deal with this massive conversation around race and economics and like the pandemic and the world in general. And we really had some really deep conversations in our home during that time. It was really special. And one of those conversations, really, we got into, we were having lots of deep conversations, and it was a really interesting time for my brother, who at the time was 18, just graduated high school, hadn't had to really have these conversations yet, hadn't been in the world. Even really thinking about racism was something that, like, he felt that he really never kind of had to manage. So I actually had a minor African American studies, which I never actually got to use except for my day-to-day life and survival. I was able to actually like have these conversations with my little brother, and one of the things we talked about was the importance of Black economics and Black wealth, and what would it look like for us to create opportunities for more Black wealth, and conversations about incubator programs and ones that were doing really well in LA that we thought were really cool and maybe could be incorporated with a wellness like a wellness kind of disposition, because we also thought that was something that, you know, in the midst of this, like mental health, physical health, all of these things came to, you know, the forefront of like Black issues of like, we need to kind of, so we're like, how do we like pair those two worlds together? And so one of the ways we thought could be, okay, so maybe it's an incubator program that supports people who are doing work and healing and wellness. And so from there, we're still talking, okay, so we have this idea about an incubator program, but we would have to have a location. We would have to have somewhere that it could kind of exist, and then we'd have to pay for it, and then we have to fund it. And so, I mean, there's of course always a nonprofit opportunity, which we are looking into down the line. But we thought a coffee shop could be an instant opportunity to fund something like this while creating a space, while, you know, be able to bring an income to do more awesome work in the community. So that is how a coffee apothecary shop that also serves as an incubator for Black-owned health and wellness in Lemon Grove began.
I love that. I love everything about that. I want to break it down even further for the audience. So where'd you get the money from? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so we didn't have any money. Like credit cards, like access to any type of funding, like, you know, from a regular institution like a bank. So we decided to do a Kickstarter. We were really passionate about what we wanted to bring to the community, and being from San Diego and knowing people from San Diego, like, I knew that people would be as passionate about it too. They just need someone, you know, maybe to put that ball in motion. And so we started a Kickstarter campaign, and we sold augmented reality mugs and t-shirts and stickers, and also like apothecary kits, and we raised around $30,000. So that was like kind of our seed money to start the business.
So about how long did it take to get that amount of seed money?
So we started in August, about 2 months.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And that's just money raised from people you knew, and then who maybe told other people they knew.
100%.
That is community right there.
Right. It was really powerful.
Absolutely. So this wellness idea and being an incubator for other folks and organizations that are aligned with you, what does that mean? If someone's watching today and they go, what's an incubator?
Yeah. So we've kind of rolled out different versions of it over time. And the first kind of in statement of our incubator program, it was we basically would work with local businesses that we identified using social media and like trying to find them and hunt them down in San Diego. We reached out and we let them know, like, hey, like, we would love to provide an opportunity for your products to get some visibility consistently for a 60-day period. And so that was the first way that we kind of worked with them, giving them shelf space, promoting them. And then now we're also doing pop-ups. In the future, we're also going to be rolling out a version of this that also incorporates educational components. So we'll have workshops at the Hamlett and curriculum.
Nice. So what is apothecary?
Yeah, so apothecary is a very general like kind of large, way to talk about anything that supports wellness. It could be a topical solution from like a essential oil to a candle to actual herbal teas. So it has a large spectrum of things that are good for you and are kind of like an alternative to general basic kind of healthcare, if you will.
So do you all carry apothecary kits? I know you carry beautiful, wonderful t-shirts that say the Hamlet, t-shirts that give representation to your zip code where the Hamlet is located. What can we find at the Hamlet besides those wonderful drinks that you all make?
Yeah, so we have herbal packs of different apothecary herbs. We have teas. We also have, again, candles, essential oils. We have tinctures. We also have books and other kind of modalities that we think kind of contribute to health and wellness.
Now, let me ask you this. You all got this idea during the pandemic. You launched during the pandemic. And I'm sure there was some sort of element of fear, not just because it was in the midst of a pandemic, but also starting a business could be scary. What were some of the challenges that you faced and that you overcame in order to become the business owner that you are right now? Because you're thriving. You are thriving.
Yeah, so I think some of the things we faced a lot. I think one of the biggest things was like you don't know what you don't know when you're getting into something. So it's like you can only prepare yourself so much and to such an extent, but there's always going to be blind spots. Permitting ended up being one of those for me, even as a person who pulls temporary permits for my like full-time career. It's very different than working with local governments and permanent permits. So we raised this money and had a timeline to be open in like 2 months. But with the permitting process, we didn't open for 8 months, but still had to pay utilities, still had to manage all of that. And then we had two different incidents of vandalisms where somebody had knocked out the glass in front of our shop multiple times. And just general wear and tear of equipment. I mean, there's been a lot of challenges, but the thing is always taking us to the beginning is the community, and having that community support this entire time has allowed for us to kind of overcome and keep pushing forward because everyone's like, we believe in you, you got this is something that's really important to us, and really wanting to stay in integrity with that promise of that kit starter. Like, it's the thing that really keeps us going even when things get kind of tough.
Yes. And you all are so supported by a community. And I think it is because you're so community centered. But I remember first hearing about the Hamlet on Black San Diego, and everyone was just raving, especially your number one fan, Mr. Jason Shanley.
We love Jason.
Who doesn't love Jason? We're going to make sure that we get the information for the Hamlet up on the screen. We want to make sure that everyone visits the Hamlet because it is definitely a place to visit. I have always gotten excellent customer service there.
Yay.
Yes. And before I ask you the $1 billion question, I do want to talk a little bit more about you being a woman, a Black woman, a young Black woman who is an entrepreneur, a business owner, and you have a full-time job. Can we talk about the challenges there?
Yeah, so that's interesting question because, like, definitely as a woman and a mother, I have a 6-year-old. So there's a lot of times where I am really trying to figure out how do I balance everything and make sure that I'm in integrity with all the different fronts that I'm working on, the integrity with between me and my employees, integrity with myself and my child, integrity with my partner, integrity with showing up for my full-time job. So there's so many different I think the real challenge is, especially for women, we often play so many roles and wear so many hats that trying to discover a balance can be really difficult. So that's been one of the challenges is finding balance between, as a woman who's having to wear so many hats, and then as a Black woman, often not having anyone to really talk to who has gone through this process and fully understands how to get to the success line, not being able to have access to capital that maybe other communities might have in order to fund things when the going gets rough. when things get rough, I was having to kind of, sometimes pull from my own paycheck. There was not like there's no backup for like credit or a loan or anything like that.
Lots of things, but none of them became a barrier. And as I said earlier, you all are thriving. The Hamlet's going to be around for forever. And while I'm saying that, the Hamlet comes from your last name.
Yes.
I've seen your mother there working. This is a family affair.
100%.
This is something that everybody is invested in. And so this is going to be a long-standing thing in our community for a very long time. So just congratulations on building something that has so much meaning in the community and that is looked at as a community space. Every time I go, I'm seeing people, I've seen folks that are at the top of the rung at the county having meetings at the Hamlet. So your space is known as the space for community and having those meetings and engaging and connecting with people. So congratulations on building that and seeing that through.
Thank you.
So now for the $1 billion question. What advice would you leave the audience with today as they start their week? Whether they want to launch a business, maybe be afraid of doing that, or just inspirational. How do we start their week on an inspirational note?
The thing that I always tell people is to develop good habits, and good habits specifically relevant to taking care of yourself. If you can develop those good habits, then there's no project or anything that you can't do because you'll be able to show up whole and healthy. So that's one of the really little things that I really tell people to focus on, because it adds up to your ability to do greater things.
Take it from a successful, stylish entrepreneur who has created so many different spaces throughout this area, but has definitely created a community space, a family-oriented space right here in Lemon Grove. Just start to accept good habits. Make small changes. Doesn't have to be anything big. And maybe you can be just like Shacole Hamlett. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Motivational Mondays. I'm going to see you next week, same time, same place, right here, with more inspiration to help you jumpstart your week. Now, if you found this week's conversation inspirational or motivational in any way, maybe you got a gem to carry with you throughout the day or the week, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Because remember, everyone can use some motivation. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.